So I was just talking to a gentleman backstage that I know that you are all going to be very excited to hear from. He represents the 33rd District in Sacramento as Assemblyman. Ladies and gentlemen, a friend of the Tea Party, let's please give a warm welcome to Assemblyman gubernatorial candidate Tim Donnelly.
Good morning. What a wonderful day to be an American. You know what? I love seeing all the red, white, and blue. There is just something in the air right now in 2014. And I believe we are going to take back California. You know, I came to this state when I was 19 years old. And I had a whole lot, I hear a little echo. I came to this state when I was 19 years old, and I will never forget the day that I left my home in Michigan. I'm the third oldest of 14 kids. We lived in a 4-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom home. Yeah, that 0.5 was real important in the morning. But you know, about half my family helped me push start my VW Bug. And I turned to wave goodbye, but they were inside fighting over my room. But my dad chased me halfway down the street and he gave me $2 in quarters and he said, "Son, whatever you do, don't call home." He said, "Get yourself a Coke somewhere between here and California." You know, I should have been worried. I should have been nervous, but I knew where I was going. I was going to the land of opportunity. I was going to California. And I went through a whole bunch of states, and some of them were pretty. I even went through Texas and didn't feel like staying. But when I crossed into California, something changed. When I got down to the beach and saw my first California sunset, I fell in love. And you know, I knew I was home. I knew I was in a place where the only limitation on your dreams is what you could imagine and how hard you're willing to work. And within a decade, I had met and married the most amazing woman on the planet, my wife, Rowena. She was a young widow with 2 boys. You can clap for her. So we added 3, and we now have 5 sons and a grandson. And we started our own business in plastics. Remember The Graduate? Well, I took it literally. I was living the California dream. And then along came the government and regulated me out of business by driving my customers out of the state of California. And you know what? I want my state back. I want my freedom back. I want my sons to have the same opportunity that I had to live the California dream without having to leave the state of California to do it. You know, we have a governor who just can't say no. He signed 805 new laws in a state where the greatest complaint is that we're overregulated. But you know, his rule started almost 40 years ago. And he took California from first to last in almost everything that matters. Remember when our education system was the envy of the world? And now we're 48th in reading, 49th in math, circling the drain, competing with Alabama and Mississippi, and we're losing. We need common sense education reform, not Common Core. And you know, this morning, you are all gathered here. You're grassroots activists on some level or another. Every one of you has done something. Well, I got to tell you, we have a unique opportunity in 2014 to unite people around issues that matter to them. Now note, I said issues that matter to them, not issues that matter to the political consultants who run campaigns at 50,000 feet and try to rain down mail and advertisements. I get messages on Facebook all the time, and I have not ever seen an issue as motivating as Common Core. I don't know what it is, but it has struck a nerve in the hearts of Californians in a way that I think could literally change the outcome of the election. When you have an issue that affects your child's future, and we all know government's become the greatest threat to our future, but when it becomes the greatest threat to education, which is the key to success, when they've dumbed down education, when our kids are coming home, and our kids are good students, and they're coming home crying instead of beaming, and when the exact same comment is being made on Twitter by someone who voted for Obama as someone who is a member of the Tea Party, that's what I call a unifying issue. And, you know, we have to look at what Jerry Brown's prescription is for education. I believe Brad Dacus told you earlier he wants to put the boys in the girls' bathroom. Well, that's not going to get us in the top 3 spots in education. That's just a stupid government overreach. And it defies the wise local decision-making that had been done by the local teachers and administrators who respected everyone. So, you know, I think education is where we really ought to focus our energies in the 2014 election. And when you look at California, how could we get from almost dead last to first? Well, I hate the fact that we have to copy other states, but in Colorado they came up with an interesting idea. They said if we could come up with a fair way to evaluate teachers, because we all know we've got some great teachers trapped in a system designed to fail, and we need to rescue them. If we come up with a fair way to evaluate teachers, then under a Donnelly administration, we could pay the good teachers more. And we could pay the great teachers the most and have them travel all over the state teaching the other teachers their methods in a seminar, just like we do in the business world. And then we'd have a fair way to transition those teachers who never should have spent a single moment in a classroom with our kids and help them find whatever they were meant to do with their lives. But you know, your zip code shouldn't determine your future. And let me tell you something about grassroots activism around this one issue of Common Core. And by the way, it's not about Common Core. It's not about education. It's not about teachers. It's not about the teachers' union. It's ultimately about what every single person wants. They don't just want a job. They don't just want a safe community. They want to be happy. They want to have that lifestyle that I described, the California lifestyle that we all know, that we all grew up with, or that we came to California for. They want to be happy. Well, you can't be happy if the government has more control over your life than you do. And you know, there was a little group, 3 women in Yorba Linda, that decided that they wanted to do something about Common Core. I think some of them might be here today. And they put on a meeting at a church. The first church canceled them, so they moved it to another church, changed the date. Whenever you do that, usually kills an event, by the way. They had an overcapacity crowd of over 300 people. And then something amazing happened. The news media showed up. And now you're reaching millions of people on local television in the Los Angeles basin, the #1 media market in the country. And guess what happened? I went up to the reporter because he stayed there for 5 hours and did an update every hour on the hour. I said, "What are you doing? Why are you here at this meeting? This is just an issue." He said, "No, it's not just an issue. There's a tsunami spreading across California of opposition to Common Core, and it's not just here." It's in New York, it's in New Jersey, it's in other states where the teachers' unions are starting to take a stand against it. I got a Facebook message 2 days ago from someone who wrote on my page publicly, and they said, "You know what?" Oh, and it was a nice message. She said, "I'm a teacher and I'm a Democrat. And I am supporting you for governor because of your opposition to Common Core." The reason I'm emphasizing one issue I could talk about the Second Amendment. But you guys all know what I think of that. But when we walk door to door, and I hope a whole lot of you are going to help me walk door to door and join a grassroots army, I think we should talk to people about what they care about. And we shouldn't talk to them about what they don't care about. And you know what that's called? That's called freedom. It's called respecting someone. If you and I agree passionately on one issue, then that's what we're going to talk about. And it's more important for me to listen to your heart than it is for me to preach at you. Because I got your vote by showing up on your doorstep. But what I'm going to get when I listen to you is I'm going to get a message that's going to resonate more powerfully with other people who think just like you, who might never vote for someone like me until I show up or someone else shows up who is carrying the same message the same way. You know, I think for far too long we've allowed the political class to divide us. We've allowed them to divide us on race. We've allowed them to divide us on class and where you live and so many other things. I think we have an incredible opportunity to unite a divided majority on American values, hard work, personal responsibility, and above all, freedom. And you know what? I have heard conservatives say that Democrats are the enemy. Democrats are not the enemy. Tyranny is the enemy of freedom. And we don't have a whole lot of modern day words for tyranny, but we have too many modern day examples with the IRS trying to silence us and the NSA spying on us and the BLM showing up with a force that would be better served if they put them on our border and kept the drug cartels out of our state. But Democrats are our friends, they're our neighbors, they're people we work with, but above all, they're Americans. And you know what? As I talk to people, and I talk to everybody, I've met over 55,000 people in person in the last year, and I can tell you that there is one united concept in this state. People want a government that will control itself rather than trying to control us. And you know, when the government has more control over your business and your private property and your child's education than you do, that's wrong. When the government can put a gun to your head and force you to buy a product you don't want to buy and then force you to buy a better version of that product for your neighbor who doesn't work, that's immoral. But when the government can dump violent criminals and dangerous predators onto your streets and into your neighborhood and try to make you feel like a criminal when you want to buy a gun to defend yourself, that's un-American. But when the government becomes the greatest threat to the very rights it was formed to protect, that's tyranny. So I'm going to ask you one simple thing. Somewhere in the not too distant future, you're going to be looking into the eyes of your children's children. And what I want to ask you is, what story are you going to tell them? Are you going to tell them about an epic battle that you waged to defend freedom and the American way of life? Or are you just going to tell them stories about a place called California that used to be free? That is the question of the 2014 election. What you do here today determines how that will be answered. God bless you and Godspeed.